That scene that played out across much of the country today, 15 states, as millions of Americans sought out the once-in-a-lifetime chance to witness the moon pass between the Earth and sun.
Oh my God,
Wait, did you see the bee?
It's on the bottom. It's beautiful. Oh my God, I love it so much.
From emotional tears to all-out applause, time seemed to stand still for millions of Americans from Texas to Maine. 99% of us were able to see at least some part of this rare total solar eclipse. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, thousands looked to the sky from the bleachers while clouds over Niagara Falls parted just in time for crowds to experience total darkness there. Here in Burlington, Vermont, also along the path of totality, I had a chance to witness the historic moment alongside my colleague David Muir, just one of many cities across the U.S. that experienced this rare collective moment of an experience much larger than ourselves. And there we go. There we have it. Across North America, a fleeting phenomenon.
Woo, look at that!
A celestial spectacle when for a brief moment, time seemed to stand still.
That's the diamond.
Do you see? Do you see it? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Can I take them off?
Oh my goodness. Ready, go. Take it off. Look.
No.
There's the wedding ring. There's the
No
wedding ring.
way.
Yes.
And there it is.
Starting off in Mexico.
I've never seen anything like this before. This is my first total eclipse.
Millions flocked to the path of totality of a solar eclipse moving more than 3,000 miles per hour, stretching across 15 states.
It is getting quiet. It is getting dark.
All eyes, young and old, bearing witness to a celestial event visible with the naked eye, with hopes they wouldn't be cheated out of this rare event by cloud cover.
We'll see what happens. It's up to the weather gods now.
Look at that! Woo! Yes!
Millions united by an act of the heavens, two celestial bodies aligned, all of us able to play astronomer for the day as the sun's corona encircled the moon.
I got tingles from my fingertips right down my elbows into my knees.
Woo. My heart is beating so fast, Ginger.
Many experiencing a 10-degree dip.
I can tell you the biggest feeling that I have right now is just that temperature drop and the energy that is coming from the community here. I almost want to be a little bit quiet, David and Lindsay, as this moment, oh my gosh, wow.
And it wasn't just the temperatures that dropped, some tears did as well, many emotional and in awe.
You sound emotional.
Tears in my eyes.
A universal moment of unity, and here in Russellville, Arkansas, a moment of celebration for star-crossed lovers.
You may now seal this sacred union with a kiss.
As the sun and moon appeared to become one, so too did more than 300 couples, choosing this special day to get married. This couple's first date was during the partial eclipse in 2017.
The sun and the moon and the earth have become one, and so have we.
The moon passes in front of the sun about every 18 months, but for so many of us, it's out of view. A sight like this in the lower 48 states won't come again for 2 more decades, an unusual moment experienced by animals of all kinds, some with confusion.
Birds, flocks of birds flying by. We see a lot of insects around us. It got cold and it is dark here in Dallas, you guys.
35,000 feet up, flight radar revealed the large number of planes right in the path of totality. From space, astronauts at the International Space Station got their own unique view, experiencing the blanket of darkness from on high. Those outside the path of totality from New York City to our nation's capital, not left out of the experience entirely. And just as quickly as this ethereal beauty arrived, it departed, but its impact not soon forgotten.
The feeling, it's a feeling that's indescribable.
For many, it's a gateway experience, prompting new curiosities about space and beyond, along with an eagerness to chase the next eclipse.
And it's just incredible, no?
I will go see every single one I can.
It's amazing.
Earlier, I had a chance to speak with ABC News contributor Hakeem Oluseyi, visiting professor of physics at Princeton and George Mason Universities. He told us what scientists learn from solar eclipses. We'll hear from him in a moment. And I also talked to my colleague and anchor of World News Tonight, David Muir, to give us his thoughts on today. And David, we were on the air together for hours. Of course, weeks of planning went into this, but there are always surprises. Was there anything that surprised you about today?
Oh, gosh, so much. And I think that we were both surprised in some of the same moments. When we were standing right here in Burlington, obviously beautiful Lake Champlain behind us. I mean, how beautiful is this tonight? Like ice, the water. But under a perfectly clear blue sky, the temperature shifted first, and we knew that was coming, but then it came. And it's still cold tonight as we stand here. But then when the skies darkened and that final moment, that final sort of beam of light coming from the sun that they call the diamond ring, we had seen it play out in some of the other locations, but when it played out here right behind us, when we were looking with our glasses, it seemed enormous, didn't it? I mean, that was a nice rock.
It really, yes, exactly.
Whoever got that diamond ring. But I just was, it was so breathtaking. I couldn't, come up with the words for it. And we played back the video just because I wanted to see what it was that you and I were looking at. And it was almost like this pink, purplish glow. And I thought that was one of the most defining moments.
And you actually called it because in some of the places, I know at Niagara Falls, Rob Marciano had said, oh, it's kind of cloudy, we're bummed. And you were like, there's a chance that the skies will clear up, and they did. And for some people, it was an emotional experience. You've been through this before, not your first rodeo.
Yeah.
What is it about this moment that you feel it brings some people to tears?
Well, I think one of the things is we covered this every night on the news. It's a divided country. There's so much polarization, and a lot of it probably is unnecessary. There's a lot of competing voices at each end of the spectrum. And I think this is one of those moments where we're reminded of that, how unnecessary some of that noise is, because it's a shared moment. And look at the millions of Americans, and not just the path of totality, which was wider than the last time, but the far reaches, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, they all saw it. Central Park, the top of the Empire State Building. And even when we were standing here, it just goes quiet. Yes. The birds were flying sideways. You pointed that out. You were like, what's going on here? But just to see, speaking
right
of...
on cue.
Team coverage, the bird just flew over us. But I just think the silence also spoke volumes. People were definitely in it together. And you and I were talking off air about the people of Burlington. When we arrived separately, we both were received in sort of the same way. People were telling us we're here for the eclipse. This is a rare, once-in-a-lifetime moment. It's going to be 20 years before we experience this again. And I think when we have a shared moment like that, it really does remind us that how much hunger there is for these shared moments out there.
It puts things really in perspective. David, just a pleasure and privilege to be alongside with you today, witnessing this.
We're joking tomorrow. Let's do it again.
Yeah, right,
I think
exactly.
20 years. 2044.
Do
the math. Yeah, do the
math.
We'll
see you
I don't know. We'll be around, but I'm not sure we'll be around. You know what I mean?
We'll be doing it. We'll be doing it. David, thank you so much. And also joining us now is ABC News contributor Professor Hakeem Oluseyi, visiting professor of physics at Princeton and George Mason Universities. Seeing the sun's corona during the eclipse was certainly awe-inspiring, as David and I were just discussing. But tell us exactly what we were seeing, the scientific for, maybe the third grade mind.
Yeah, what you saw is a big scientific paradox, and that is that the sun's atmosphere is 1,000,000 degrees Kelvin, while the surface is only 5,800 degrees Kelvin. And we were able to see that because the moon blocked the disk of the sun. That coronal light is typically 1 billion times more dim than the surface of the sun. So except for a total solar eclipse, you can't see it. It's always there, but you just can't see it. Now, the moon helped us out. We're able to see it, and scientists were able to study it.
And the path of totality this time was much wider than America's last solar eclipse back in 2017, 122 miles at its widest versus 71. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, it's the same reason we had an annular eclipse in America in 2023 and fulls in 2017 and 2024. All the conditions for a total solar eclipse are there, but the moon can move a little bit away from the Earth and a little bit toward the Earth. So at its farthest distance, you get an annular eclipse like in 2017. If it's closer, like in 2023. If it's closer, you get that small shadow, as in 2017, a 2-minute eclipse. But if it's closer to the Earth, the moon is closer to the Earth, you get a nice fat shadow, and that means you have a much longer eclipse. And the 2024 eclipse was about twice as long as the 2017 eclipse.
And this eclipse occurred during a period of maximum solar activity. How did that make it more special? And what causes these different periods of activity?
Yeah, so the activity on the surface of the sun is due to the magnetic fields on the surface of the sun. And those magnetic fields are dynamic and they're mobile. So every 11 years, the sun is just like a bar magnet. North at one end, south at the other pole, but then they mix up and they flip. Right? You have north at the bottom, south at the top, and then 11 years later, it does the same thing again. So at solar maximum, that's when the fields are as mixed up as they ever are. That's maximum mix. And that means that more interactions, which means more energy gets put into the plasmas. And so you see structures all around the edges of the sun instead of just at the equator and above and below the equator. So this was an incredibly active corona. There were streamers flying out all over the place, and it was gorgeous here in Dallas.
And Professor Oluche, we thank you so much for your time and breaking it down for us in layman terms for those of us who are just newly dabbling in this science. We really appreciate it.
It's cool stuff. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.